I grew up right on the Kansas border, and being a really weird, disturbing child, read In Cold Blood at a very young age, and was it stayed with me. It's one of those books that really echoes with you, I think, and that idea of a family murdered in their farmhouse in the middle of Kansas. That idea kind of stayed with me, and so when I started writing Dark Places, that was the image I started with, was a little farmhouse in the middle of Kansas and a family dead inside and what had happened. The Kill Club is a group of true crime fanatics who, each have their own kind of mystery that they either are interested in or they're trying to solve, and I wanted that feeling. It was one of my favorite parts of the book to write, because I wanted it to feel like the way a sci-fi convention does, or the way a Renaissance festival does. I am a big nerd, and I go to both of those things. So I wanted this to be sort of one of those crazy, like a true crime convention, where everyone was kind of dressed up as certain murderers, and that kind of free-for-all air. And then also the more serious part of it, where it really is people, former cops and lawyers and people who are actually really trying to solve cases. So it's kind of a two-pronged thing. She's someone who suffered the loss of her family in a very violent way at a very young age, and then kind of bounced around to relatives, and was exploited a little bit by the media, became kind of a media darling for a very awful thing. And that was one of the things that I started with when Dark Places was, what would happen to a kid? How do you grow up? And the answer is you don't grow up. She's been stuck there in part because she has chosen not to look at that night and not to look at what happened. Libby, I think, hits a point where she realizes how little she actually knows about that night, and it's kind of shocking to her, that idea that she in a way closed her mind once her brother went to prison, and she hasn't really looked at that night since she was 7 or 8 years old. So it's coming back to that as a grown-up, through grown-up eyes, and starting to learn a little bit more about those murders that make them a little bit suspicious. Gilles wrote the screenplay, and it was really wonderfully faithful. He was really kind about keeping me, in the loop and able to read it as it went along. And from the second he started on it, I thought, this guy is going to take really good care of my book, which is an important feeling to have. That's in very good hands. You have to kind of, as an author, know that it's going to become something different and it's going to be seen through someone else's eye, but at the same time, I just felt like he was going to take good care of it. He liked the same things about the story that I did, and that he was, so enthusiastic. He was just, this was going to be his next movie, and it's been very cool seeing it actually come to life. I was thrilled when Gilles told me Charlize was coming aboard. I mean, I just think she has that right amount of athleticism and toughness to her that is really going to lend itself to Libby. Obviously, she's an Oscar-winning actress, and that part's nice too. And I just think that she would. The second he said it, I just thought, oh, that's going to be a really good match.